Hello, hello, hello again. Here we go again with you and Moneylogy show. Today we, with our as always, share our thoughts and experiences regarding the ways how we can go towards financial freedom faster and easier. So as a reminder, our mission is to help you to achieve financial freedom through business or investing while having also more possible choices how to live a harmonious life for you and your family. And this is how we implementing our vision to become the biggest community of financially free investors and business owners. And of course, Moneylogy Show is also helping us to achieve this point because here we share our own experiences with you and hope that this can be valuable for you in order to do the same what we have done in the past. So if these topics as investing, personal finance, entrepreneurship are interesting for you, just watch this show as well as previous shows on any channels you like. So Havala.
Hi, good morning.
Today topic I would like to discuss with you and also with those who watch our show is debt. Because usually when you talk about debt, people say, oh, it's a bad thing. Get rid of all of the debts. So you don't need to have a debt. It's dangerous things, it's bad things, and so on. But if you ask two different types of people, probably you hear totally different answers. Because if you ask the ordinary person, who is, and especially the older one, it will say that debt is a bad thing. And if you ask investor or entrepreneur, he will probably say that it's a good thing. So what basically makes the debt bad or good? What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think it's again, power of the words or power of definition, and I think for me, it made actually a very big difference to understand this distinction between a good debt and bad debt. Let's be honest. For most of the people, debt is bad because they use it in a wrong way. So if you use it and you have to pay it, and you take a car loan or home loan or whatever consumption loan, then it's bad because you have to pay it. But what made the difference is that if you have a definition which tells you that good debt is something that somebody else pays and bad debt is something that you have to pay, then there's always a question, okay, how can I make my debt in a way that someone else starts to pay it? And especially, real estate, there's more possibilities because banks are more willing to give loans against real estate. And one of the short stories what I did personally is that I had huge bad debt, which was my home, and once I decided to quit my job, I had to get rid of the bad debt, and at this point I had basically two options: whether I would just sell it and pay back the loan, or I can make the bad debt into good debt. So I chose the second one, but I could do it only because I understood this small distinction between the debts. And as you grow and become wiser, in financial education, you actually would like to acquire more good debt.
Yeah, so especially having in mind the previous topics which we discussed, that money actually loses the value, not money, but currency is losing the value because of inflation and the printing of the money and so on. So in this case, debt can be quite a good choice if you know how to use it. So one of the differentiators which you already mentioned is that how you can understand is debt bad or good is who is the one who pays for the debt, yeah? So basically,
exactly.
it's you or somebody else, your clients, your tenants, or other people.
Exactly.
I would add also one more thing, that basically if debt can increase your income, then it's good debt. It's good debt because it helps you to increase the income, either for business or for investing. And in an opposite way, if debt is the thing which is basically reducing your income because you pay more from your money, then it's a bad debt. So,
Well, I would say that debt is basically leverage.
exactly.
And you have to be smart to use it, because you can use it against you and you can use it for you. But if you know what you're doing, then it can be actually quite a nice accelerator for your income.
Definitely, and this is basically what banks are doing. They are doing the same. They take the money from the people who puts the money to the bank. This is basically means that they pay some interest rates for the people who loans their money to the bank. And then they do the next step. They basically loans this money to entrepreneurs and investors, and this is how they get the higher interest rates. And the difference between rates are their income. So basically, what investors do, they do exactly the same thing.
So the bank's whole business model is around good debt.
Exactly. I totally agree.
So
So what
yeah.
would be the first steps, which you already even shared from your own experience? You would think people who have a bad debt would need to do in order to convert it to good debt, or at least maybe to use other debt sources as a good debt leverage.
Well, I think it's probably one of the first steps to start moving forward in your path or in your journey to financial freedom is that you have to get rid of the bad debts, and it's like something that holds you back if you don't deal with it. So there are some debts which you can turn into good, and there are some debts where there's nothing to do except to pay it back, and then have a very clear plan how to do it and how fast you can do it. So it really depends on the situation, but at least it should be a conscious decision. First of all, understand what is the debt I need to get rid of, and what is the debt I maybe want to get in, and then just make a plan and lay it out for yourself.
Great. So basically, there are two options. One is to convert that bad debt to a good one. Let's say you can have a home like you had, and you can just rent it out, and this
Yeah.
is how the bad debt will become good. The other way, if you can't convert it, then the choice is just to get rid of it or eradicate this debt step by step. And I would say one of the best approaches to this, which I saw or which helped me also in the past, by a way to get rid of some bad debts as let's say, study loans and all these things, was basically the so-called snowball model. Then you basically calculate each debt, how many payments you need to do in order to get rid of it, and then focusing on the smallest number first, and then basically add the second loan, all the payments from the previous loan, which you basically already get rid of. And this is how you speed up the eradication of each second bad debt you have, and can basically save a lot of time. And then the next step after you do it, you can actually not put this money to your living budget, but you can also put this money aside in order to start investing. So
Yeah. So basically, well, overall, I think you have actually two options. One option is to choose the loan which is the highest number,
yep,
or let's say the highest interest rate that you have to pay, and the other option is to pick the smallest one. And I think picking the smallest one is good, especially from the psychological aspect, because you can see the progress. You can see that, okay, this small debt is already gone, so there's only maybe one or two left. So from psychological aspect, I think the snowball effect is really reasonable.
I totally agree on it. So, if you have any bad debts, or at least you have debts, and up to that point you didn't realize is it good debt or bad, now we have quite a clear distinction what is good debt and bad debt. Just analyze your debts and then make a decision what you need to do in order to get rid of the bad ones, either converting them to the good ones or getting rid of them as soon as possible, and putting this money towards your investment in the future, creating a passive income, or just acquiring some wealth which could increase in value in the future. And
And
because, yeah, you want to
yeah,
add?
I would just add that even if you would have, in the future bad debt, then I think the first step that has to happen before is that you have to have an asset which will pay for this bad debt. In this
Exactly.
case, it's not as bad, because at least you have something where you don't have to work for, which will cover the debt. But in the beginning, when there's maybe no assets or very little assets, then probably the plan should be get rid of it as fast as possible.
Indeed, and this is probably one of the reasons why people comes to the point when banks takes their homes or their flats out of them, because we can't basically afford to pay this debt anymore, and then foreclosure happens. And this is actually the term we have in Starfish Academy vocabulary part. What is foreclosure? This is basically a legal process. Then the lender, it can be not only bank, but usually it's a bank, overtakes and sells your asset. Usually it's your house or your apartment from you, in order to get their money back, because you stopped making the payments. So basically, in a way, your property is getting confiscated from you, and banks actually owns it. So then you think that you are the owner of the apartment which is bought with a bank loan. Actually, it's not you. its bank until the loan is paid off. And if you have any difficulties paying the loan, then basically you can quite quickly realize and find out who is the real owner of a house, because bank will come and take your home out of you. That's why, like Val also already mentioned, the more wise approach to it would be, first of all, think how you can create additional stream of income, which is not related to your work, but would appear in your wallet or in your bank account passively. And these amounts would be covering your bank loans, because probably it's really hard in current economical situation to avoid having any bad debts at all, or avoid having liabilities. We all have some things which is basically a liability for us and takes money out of our pocket. But the question is, who pays for these expenses and what income covers it? So if it's just your income which you get as a salary, this is probably the most risky situation. And if you have any other incomes which is comes from your investments, then basically you are in a much better situation than the first group of people.
I think the challenge for most of the people is that they have liabilities as bad debts, and they have only one stream of income, which is the salary that you do not control.
Exactly.
Because your employer controls it. And if you don't have any assets, then it's a very risky situation. That's why people get in trouble, because if you lose the job, which you cannot control, and you have the bad debt, then you're actually in the trap. So that's why, you need to move to both directions. You need, on one hand, you need to move to the direction of start creating assets, and on the other hand, start to move to eradicating the bad debt at the same time, so you get in a better financial health.
Exactly. It's actually we're touching a bit another topic, but I believe it's really important also to understand, because usually people think that the job we have is the most safest thing which can be, because it's like a stable income we get each month. But as soon as there are some challenges, either from the employer side or from the employee himself, because he can't do the job anymore and the salary stops, then basically it seems one of the most riskiest options. And that's why I would say, even especially in current economical situation, when the interest rates are really low, there are a lot of temptations to get this bad debt, to buy a bigger house and so on, because the loan is so cheap, the payment is so cheap that I can afford it. But when you go to the bank, just ask the bankers to give you the payment schedules, not only based on the current interest rates, but also ask them to calculate what would be the payment if the interest rates would be, let's say, historical average, 5, 6, 7%. And you will see how drastically your payment can increase in this case. And think if you can cover this different amount of payment in the future. And if you are ready for it, it's okay. But if not, then this can be a big trouble for you in the future.
And Juris, if you think about it, if you have an asset which pays for the bad debt,
Yep.
it almost makes it as a good debt. Because you have an asset that somebody else pays, and this just covers the bad debt. So that's another way. You don't have to turn exactly this debt into a good one, but you can have an asset paying for the bad debt, which also makes it a good one in a financial situation, right?
That's why I would say, even adding to this criteria which defines good debt or bad debt. First thing is who is paying for the debt. The other thing is either debt helps you to increase your income or not. And the third one, which basically connects to the first one, which we just discussed, is either the debt you have helps you to increase your wealth or not. Because let's say you have a bad debt for buying your house, but this debt is covered by the passive income from your business or other properties you rent. It means that the bad debt for your house is basically paid out with not your money, but your tenant's money. And at the same time, it helps you to also have more wealth, because more you pay out the debt for the house, more ownership in this house you have for yourself, not for a bank anymore. So these things I would say these are the main criteria which can help you to define is it bad debt or good debt.
But for that, you need to have your financial statement updated.
Exactly.
So you can make a plan.
Exactly. So the first steps for you anyway comes back to filling in your financial statement, where you will clearly see, is it a good debt, is it a bad debt, Is your house as an asset or is it a liability for you? And then basing on that, you can make decisions what to do with this. If you are interested in these topics and also other topics, you can watch our recorded shows which we have done previously on any channels you like, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and follow us there, because it's not only about shows, it's also about other content which we post there for you. And if you have any questions and as well suggestions what topics you would like to hear in the future shows, just feel free write below the videos in the comment section on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook page, and we will be more than happy to include it in the future. And if you have questions during the live shows, you can also ask them and we will answer them right away in the show, or we'll include the answers in the upcoming shows in the future, because the shows happening the same time, same day each week. So we will see you the next Tuesday, the same time, with another topic. And of course, if you help us to select the topic, then it will be even more valuable for you. So thank you for watching this show. Thank you, Vala, for sharing your thoughts about good debt and bad debt. And if you have bad debt, just make the first steps how to convert them to the good debt or get rid of them. And see you next Tuesday, the same time on Moneylogy. Bye-bye.
See you next week.